Hi everyone, this is Longvo. Today is August the 28th, 2012. I'm analyzing one of my games in the Burlington Chess Club. My opponent playing white is Joe Finelli, rated 1599. I'm playing black, rated 1462. So he starts off with d4, and I play knight to f6. And he goes bishop to f4. So at this point, because I still don't know my openings, I sat there for about 10 minutes trying to decide what to play. It was kind of like a waste of time, but if you don't know your openings, it's important to think of what's your plan of attack. So what I notice here is that his bishop is putting some pressure on the c pawn here. I felt like perhaps playing this to shut out the bishop, but by doing that I would simply block in my own bishop, so I decided to go d5 instead to gain a little bit more space. And my opponent plays knight to f3, protecting the d pawn and developing the knight. So now I go knight to d7. So the plan here was to make a break and challenge the center. So I do enjoy the French defense, and this is similar to something like that, just to challenge the center right away and try to keep my center pawns. And also this structure looks like a London system type of opening where the this pawn will move up, and then the knight may go here, the bishop may go here, and then the queen may go up, and then the king is quite safe if he does that, and it gives him the option to castle either side, or not even to castle if he decides not to, because this structure is so stable. The only thing with that type of opening is I find it's kind of passive, and if I was to be passive as well with my opening, by the time he's done his opening, his position would be stronger. So the idea here was, it looked like a type of London system, so I decided that this move would probably be better. So he does play e3, and I push for c5 right away. So I knew that right there he was sort of out of his element a little bit, because he took a little bit longer to decide on the next move, and he continued with c3, and I didn't feel that I was ready to take right away, because the development is still not complete, right? But the goal here is to simply put pressure in the center and perhaps add more attackers, and then when the time was right, then I would strike. So I went to queen to b6, putting more pressure on the d pawn, and I wanted to attack the b pawn here, because now the dark squared bishop cannot retreat because it's outside that pawn chain. I decided that this move would be aggressive, and the goal here was to try to perhaps induce some sort of a pawn move to weaken that London system structure. So I think that was a good move, because it caused him to take more time to think, and he went queen to c2 to defend instead of making a pawn move, which I think was a good move, because it also develops another piece to further connect the rooks, and he doesn't create any pawn weaknesses. So now I had nothing to do. I wasn't sure how to proceed, so I just went g6 with the idea of fianchettoing the dark squared bishop and castling kingside. So I don't know if this makes sense at all, but I had no other moves to make, right? Like this bishop is totally blocked off. Unless I'm gonna make a break right away. I still felt that the I didn't have enough pieces yet to break the center. So you know, maybe if I fianchetto the bishop, it would add more pressure on the d pawn here. So even though I didn't really know what I was doing at that point, I think it was a good way to proceed. It's just simply controlling the dark squares, putting a lot of pressure on that lead d pawn there. And he went bishop to e2. So normally bishop to d3 would be the move for the London system, you know, just being a little bit more active. Perhaps he didn't want to block off the queen, or he didn't want to go here and then I could push and kick away his light squared bishop. So he just went there from the start. And I continue with bishop to g7. So now I'm putting more pressure on the dark squares. I didn't even know that that's what I was doing. The only reason I decided to fianchetto the bishop here is because I felt that this would be, you know, four moves that it wouldn't take me time to think, because I was already down half an hour at this point. And he goes knight to d2. So this is very similar to that London system, and so the king here is ready to go anywhere he wants. And so I think at this point I castled kingside, and once I did that, he right away went h4. So because this system is so stable, he can castle queenside anytime he wants, or even the center looks safe. He decided to attack my king right away. And I've played a lot of games against this fianchetto structure, and I knew that it's not that easy to break. So I wasn't too worried about that, because I knew that if he kept pushing and he takes, right, like taking back here was still okay, to opening up the file for the rook. And I was still okay. So I wasn't too threatened by that move, and I decided to break into the center with c takes d. And so this move here was important to me because I wanted to know what he was up to. So would he take with the knight or the pawn? So if he takes with this pawn, it may mean that he still wants to castle on the king side. But the fact that he already moved this pawn so far up here probably means he doesn't want to castle king side. So he takes with the e pawn. So e takes d, and so this tells me that he has the intention of castling queen side. That's why he doesn't care about the king side, and he probably wants open files here to eventually, once he castles, to attack on my king side. So that's a little bit information for me. And so now my next idea was, okay, so I want to push for the e5 here, because I want his structure to be all open, right? So once I have this structure here, my king is very safe, and the goal here is to open up as many files as possible, try to get my pieces developed. So I go knight to g4 to further put pressure on the dark squares. So here not only I add another attacker to e5, I'm actually adding two attackers, because now I'm opening the lines for the bishop, the diagonal for the bishop. And so once I play here my next move, he only has 1, 2, and 3 defender of that square, and I would have, well, this pawn, and then 1, 2, and 3 attackers, and plus the rook can swing over to the e file to add even more pressure. And not only that, I'm putting more pressure on this this lead pawn here. So he decided to keep pushing on the king side. So I was okay here because I felt that if some exchange was to be made, I was still okay losing one of these pawns here, and so that's why I didn't want to go rook to e8 yet to overprotect that e5 square. So at this point I thought, you know, he would eventually take this. I didn't want to take to open the file for the rook, so I made my attack with the e5. So now I'm breaking into the center, and of course this is a forcing move because the bishop is under attack. And so should he take, now if he took here, this would work out for me because I would deliver check here and really cause his king to be what I'd like to call discastled permanently. So he would probably move somewhere and he can't castle anymore. So that would work out for me. If he takes with the knight, I would simply retreat this knight, and that was fine as well. I created like an open e file, and the goal was to eventually get my other minor pieces out. So I wanted him to take, but he didn't take. He went bishop to e3. So I think at this point he's totally out of his game here. He's not sure what to do, and I don't know if this is a blunder, but I thought to myself, well, with this structure here and this pawn so close to destroying the structure, I don't want any bishops around, right? So this bishop here is the only one who can counter my dark square bishop, so exchanging the knight for the bishop makes sense. So knight takes e3, threatening the queen, and of course it's a forced move, so he goes f takes e, and so one bishop out of the off the board. I still have my bishop pair, and plus he has one less attacker, so even though he's more advanced here, I don't think his attack will succeed. And now my next move obviously is to e takes d to open the e file. So his king is in the middle here, so I think at this point he has to consider castling. So of course he takes e takes d because he does have the intention of castling queenside, but now this is a fully opened file, so I don't know if that's a mistake, because if he took with the other pawn, I don't know if this pawn structure is very good. There's like 3 islands of 2 pawns, right? So I have this isolated queen pawn, which could be a potential weakness, but it gives me so much space that I have 2 open files here to get the rooks in, the other rook, the bishop, and I'd like to get my bishop on this square here. This would be a really active placement for the bishop, and plus if he's going to castle kingside, this would be ideal. And plus the other bishop here has this beautiful diagonal here that initially there was 3 pawns, right? And now it's slowly I'm chipping away at it, and eventually I'd like to open that diagonal. So now, okay, so so I take, and he takes back with the e pawn, and I go rook to e8. So the goal of moving the rook here is I would love to prevent him from castling, and by pinning that bishop there, if he castles, then I can take the bishop, right? So that's one way to cause him to be discastled. It's still not permanent, because if he can somehow find a way to defend the bishop, and then he could castle, right? So I think that perhaps this move would have made sense, or yeah, I think that would have been a good move. But instead he went knight to b3, which is also defending the bishop, right? So now he still wants to castle, and at this point it was really tempting for me to play either queen to a6, attacking the a2 pawn here. So if he does castle, so I would be able to attack that pawn, right? So this is another way for me to exert pressure. And of course the bishop is pinned, so he cannot take because of the rook. But I didn't think this attack was that good because it wasn't really attacking the king. I could have also gone here, doing the same thing. So if he does push, then I'm glad to get rid of my isolated queen pawn. We'll just call it IQP. Yeah, when I first heard the term IQP, I thought it was some chess program or something, but it stands for isolated queen pawn. So this position here is an isolated queen pawn, and I was happy to, if I went here and he did challenge it, I would simply exchange, attacking the knight. The knight doesn't really have a good square to go to. It may simply come back, and then I could keep pushing, and because if the knight retreats and I push, then the queen is disconnected now, and right, and I'm still putting pressure here, and plus this pawn is really farly advanced. It can further attack here and create a lot of weaknesses on the queen side, so that way there's no way for him to castle. So I did consider that, but he could have gone here as well, and I don't know, I just didn't like that, you know, having that queen there, being attacked by the bishop, and eventually if he somehow found a way to, you know, perhaps make a move that would be forcing, then my queen would be in trouble. So I didn't like that. I didn't feel comfortable putting the queen there, so I decided to go queen to e6, pinning the light squared bishop. Same thing, because now the queen, he added a defender, I'm adding an attacker. So if he does, whoops, sorry about that. So if he does castle, now that bishop is hanging, right? So he's not going to take, obviously. So that was my way of exerting even more pressure, and preventing him from castling. So I think his position is not very comfortable at this point. So he decided to, instead of defending the position, he decided to counterattack with h takes g. And at this point, I asked myself, what should I do? Should I take with the f pawn? I don't think that would have been a bad thing necessarily, but I thought that if I did do that and then he went knight to g5 with temple, kicking away my queen, I'd be in trouble here. So later on he could, you know, if I move my queen somewhere, let's say here, to still put pressure on this pawn perhaps, and attack the knight, and the queen is safe because the bishop is pinned, right? I'm still in trouble. So he would simply move the knight, and this file is open. The knight so close to the king is not very comfortable. The next move here is totally open, and plus the light square bishop is still on the board. So I don't think that would have been a good move, and I decided to take with h takes g, even though I was giving him this beautiful open h file here. But the dark square bishop is out of the game, so the dark squares are covered. The king is covering the light square, and all I have to do is take care of this bishop, and then I'm like home free. And so now he goes knight to c5, attacking the queen, and I think this was a mistake because well, he's offering an exchange of knights here, but if he did that, he would simply create double pawns here, right? So but if I move the queen anywhere, this pawn here is hanging. So or I thought to myself, if I did move the queen and he took here, I would simply develop the bishop with temple, so that would make sense. But I felt that, you know what, I have a good position. I have the whole board is open here. This isolated queen pawn is weak. I don't want too many pieces on the board, so I think at this point it made sense for me to exchange. So I went knight takes c5, and he goes d takes c. So another weakness here. So this pawn here is weak. It's my target. This pawn here is weak. It's another target. I like my position at this point. So this bishop here is really in a bad situation, and plus one less knight to defend. I think this may have been an okay move, protecting the bishop, attacking the queen, and if I exchange, he would simply take back and fix his pawn structure. So I think that would have been okay, and it would have perhaps given him a chance to perhaps swing the rook over or something like that, or just to somehow add this rook as a defender of that bishop. So even this move would have been good, right? And then he would add a defender and then castle. But so after he takes with the pawn here, I go bishop to d7. Here's my idea. Obviously that pawn is my target, and this bishop here, I would have liked the queen. Yeah, initially when I went the queen here, I wasn't sure if that was a good move because I was sort of blocking the bishop. I would have liked the bishop to be here, but now the queen's in the way. Bishop here is not too bad because as you can see here, this is a potential checkmate. So if the queen moves off the second rank here, I could deliver checkmate. So by going here, I'm telling him that I have the intention of attacking the c pawn, and I was hoping that perhaps he would push b4 here, and there's a little tactic here that I would simply take bishop to c3 check, forking the rook, and taking with the queen is not possible because of this checkmate here. So I was hoping he would do something like that, and plus I always had another way of perhaps later on moving the IQP here to exert pressure and perhaps cause him to exchange his minor pieces. But anyways, he decided to castle kingside because here his position is really tough. I think that at that point I totally understood why he castled, giving up the light squared bishop, because this was like a hopeless position for him with that king right in the center there. Let's go back here. So with that king in the center, there's too many threats. Even the threat of the bishop. So let's say if he made some random move, and even if my bishop went here, right, it's just a matter of time before I win that bishop, right? But I think he could have considered this move before that, right? So let's take that back. So instead of that pawn, he could have considered this move. And if I did something like that, just add a defender, right? Well, now he still can't castle, but that's his dilemma. So he felt that if he simply gave up that minor piece, at least the king would be safe. But being down a piece, I don't know if that's the case. So queen takes e2, and of course he doesn't want to take back because if the queens come off the board, my piece advantage would be amplified, right? And then I have this really nice outpost here, and without the queen there's no attack, right? So once that the light squared bishop fell, I was really comfortable, and I knew that there was not much that he could do to checkmate me. And so he went rook to d2 instead, defending the g pawn here. And I went queen to c4, which is a double attack on the a pawn and the c pawn. So I was happy with that move, and I knew that if he attacked the queen with the pawn, then because of this bishop here, so this would have been really bad for him to weaken up the queen side even more. And I was comfortable with that move. And he went rook to h4. So here, I think there's a little lesson here to learn that I was really comfortable. And the next move that I played, I didn't even calculate anything, and I still had an hour here. So the next move that I played, I think I got really, really lucky, and I didn't even consider what the consequences could have been, right? So I just thought to myself, should I take this pawn or this pawn? And without even thinking, I said, you know what, this pawn is a permanent weakness. I could later on attack it. So let's take this pawn. So I didn't even think. I went queen takes a2. And what I missed was, if my bishop wasn't there, he would have trapped the queen, right? So there was no way for her to go. So going back here with the rook can take, going here the queen can take, over just staying there, the rook takes, delivering check is useless, going in here. The only thing was probably to exchange the queen for the rook, if the bishop wasn't there. But of course, after I made the move, I'm like, oh no, you know, he could trap the queen. But then I'm like, oh, okay, so this bishop is there, you know. And I was so relieved, because if he trapped my queen there, the game would have been over, and I would have been really upset because there was no reason, right? So if you have the time, in this case I had an hour, just calculate before you make any moves. And even if this was the obvious move, calculating for future moves could also make sense, because what if there was a stronger move, right? So anyways, that's the move I made. And so he blunders here with rook takes d5, and I go queen takes d5, and he resigned at this point. Now this blunder, yeah, it was a horrible blunder, but the position was totally lost, because I felt that after in this position, I really wanted to continue with. So let's play a random move with bishop to f6, f5 here to attack the queen, and eventually, if the queen moves, then right, he's in trouble, or even here, and so that was the goal. Anyways, he resigned, and so I was really happy with this game, because I felt that I sort of understood what I was doing in terms of challenging the center and developing pieces, because normally I would have tried to connect my rooks right away, but in this case, the moves that I made, even though it didn't necessarily develop my pieces, it always had a purpose of challenging the center and messing up his structure and creating counterplay and threats and all that. So I hope that you guys learned something, and I'll see you next time.